Welcome to Lunch with Dr. Coopwood podcast. For every quarter, we welcome a member of the Regional One Health family to talk about one of our premier behaviors. This time, we're focusing on Think Team First. Today's guest uses that very important mission to keep us, our patients, and our visitors safe. Kenneth DeBerry is one of our security officers. He not only responds to security issues all over campus, he helps prevent them from happening in the first place. What's more, he's one of the first faces people see when they arrive on our campus. He answers a lot of questions, gives a lot of directions, and confronts visitors when they're scared or stressed. Kenneth, welcome, and thank you for taking the time today to join us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
So I trust one of your team members is out there watching over us while we're having this conversation so the place isn't unsecure. But let's start there. Regional One is a big and busy place. No one person can have their eyes everywhere. How does your team work together to make sure you cover as much ground as possible on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's a good thing about it as far as communication is the key. Communicating with one another through radios, through the CCS TV system, but basically with one another. So communication through the radios and the system is a big part of how we keep up with one another.
So it helps spread the teamwork around.
Yes, sir.
And it's really important because you have to, when I came here, they say it was over 1 million square feet of space in this organization, and we can't have 1 million police officers.
That's right.
In security, so we have to be able to leverage what we have to be able to cover as much of this. And you say communication is that number one thing?
Yes, sir. Communication is always the key.
So you're asked to respond to a lot of different types of issues and interact with a wide variety of people. You also have to react quickly. What makes it especially important that you and your team members trust each other, and how do you build that trust? Because remember, we're talking again about Think Team First.
Yes, sir. That also begins with making sure all your team members have the right tools that they need to perform their job, and training. Make sure you constantly, even when you're not busy, you train. You constantly thinking ahead, helping one another, make your team members feel more comfortable about what they do. Because once they learn the job and they feel more comfortable about what they're doing, it's a lot easier for them to perform and react without having to second guess themselves.
Well, that's good because it's. I'm a big Titans football fan, and when you're playing defense. Hope that didn't insult you if you're some kind of Cowboys or Steelers fan.
No, sir.
Okay,
no,
good.
Sir.
We're about to turn the podcast off if that was the case. But when you think about a defense, it's hard to cover that whole field. But you got to, like you said, communicate. You got to have people who are skilled and ready to work and ready to respond in order to make sure that nothing happens bad. For us, it's not a defense, but it's for our campus. So that's good to hear. So responding to security issues is not the only job that you have. Sometimes you're called to anticipate and to prevent bad things from happening. What are some of the things you watch for to help stop a problem before they start?
For instance, on that, you might have people come in with backpacks, different bags. You might just go in to see a clinic just to see a doctor, but when you have suitcases on rollers, and you try to encourage your team members, be aware of your surroundings as well as, the people that's coming in, because you never know what's going on. So always be vigilant, keep your head on swivel, pay attention to one another. But also, if you have a question or you feel something's not right, talk with that individual, just see where they're at, see what they're thinking, and you can get a better understanding of certain situations.
I'm sure it's also helping to train the staff to, as they say at the airport, see something, say something.
Yes, sir.
So that they, then you can expand your reach by having the staff members be attuned to those potential things. And we've been very blessed here to not have any bad incidents. But the fact that we haven't had it doesn't guarantee us from having it in the future. So you and your team being focused on that is important. While the nurses and the doctors do what they do in the hospital. So part of your of preventing problems is sharing information with your colleagues and communicating your concerns. it's vital that you all are acting the same information. How do you communicate clearly and effectively?
One, be brief, be precise, and don't make a long sentence out of anything. Just be direct and be clear with what you're saying. As long as you're being just plain English, you'll be okay. You just got to be brief and be clear with it.
And that's a good way to do it, because sometimes we can over-explain.
Yes, sir.
We can make things too complicated, and then when they leave, they're like, well, what are we supposed to do here?
Yes, sir.
So having that concise communication, I agree, is extremely important. It also occurs to me that all of us at Regional One Health can help your team prevent problems. Thinking team first means helping outside of our immediate department when we can. What can we do to be alert, and what should we do to see something that doesn't feel right?
Well, hopefully everyone feels comfortable in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, once again, communicating with one another. If, like you say, if you see something that you feel is not right, or if you just see it's not right, say something. Mm-hmm. Whether it's your supervisor, your partner, because they might say, well, you might need to say something about that. So even if you second guess yourself, you could be right or you could be wrong. There's no such thing as a wrong answer.
That's important, because a lot of times when we have unfortunate mass casualty events in organizations, someone saw somebody who just didn't seem right, but they didn't say anything sometimes.
Yes, sir.
And being that first person to encounter somebody on a 80-degree day wearing a trench coat, it might be the time to call security and say, hey, check this out.
Yes, sir.
That's important. So the security department isn't just the enforcer on campus. You also have a lot of roles that people don't necessarily think about. How do you help visitors and patients while they're on campus? And why is that such an important part of your job?
Well, with the visitors and the patients and the employees, you have visitors and patients come in all the time. They're not knowing where they're going, or might not feel comfortable with talking with certain people, but when they see security, they're going to ask you. And they looking at you to have the answer for them. So, if you don't know the answer, you just tell them, okay, I'll find out, but I can help you with as much as I can. And I give them to the right people that can actually help them out and make them feel comfortable about what they're doing.
And that kind of goes into and a lot of people may not know, we see security in your nice outfits. Some are carrying guns, and we think about the tougher side of your job, and there's opportunities where you have to be that firm individual. But last summer, we saw a softer side of your job, where a family was from out of town and called you a true angel. They wrote a letter and said you're a true angel when their loved one was being cared for at our hospital.
Yes, sir.
Kenneth helped them find their way around, offered encouragement, and checked on them. Tell me what drew you to this family, and why you moved to go above and beyond and take care of them, and why is that important as a security employee? Well,
one, we trying to grow here at Regional One Health as a family anyway. Mm-hmm. We want to expand, and we want people to feel comfortable when they get here. I've heard people say they had certain feelings when they got, but after they got here and met people, everything changed. And with this family here, I saw the father. Mm-hmm. The mother was with him, but I saw the father. He was broke down, crying in tears, and I was like, well, I put myself in his shoes. What if that was me? He didn't know what was going on. He was lost. But after I talked with him, talked with his wife, they got to feeling more comfortable with everything. And every day that I saw him, I would check on him. And that made him feel a lot better, because they didn't know what direction they was going in or what to do.
I've always said in orientation and in our leadership meetings that we have no control of what people think about us when they come.
That's right.
But we have 100% control of what they think about us after they leave. And that's an example of you taking that extra step, which sometimes people see as outside of the role of security, but sometimes you're the first person they see. You're that, because you're wearing that uniform, hey, he or she must work at Regional One Health, let me ask this question. Yes, and so you to be willing to participate in that is so important. And this story is a perfect example of how it takes all of us to provide good patient care.
Yes, sir.
You weren't in the operating room, you weren't taking x-rays, you weren't drawing blood, but you were providing care to that family all at the same time. So what are your goals and your plans for continuing to support our patients and families and your colleagues? How do you see moving forward? How do we build on that within your team? And have you all had opportunities to have conversations since that event, and how you all, being sometimes that first person, will look to be able to participate more in that?
Yes, sir. Well, we have a great support team. Starts with the director, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And with Terrell, Daniel, Miss Candace Shorter, Miss Carolyn, you have a great team and people looking out for you and getting in the right people to work with you. That's the key, hiring the right people, because that's what's going to keep you going. Training the right ones that's willing, because this is a special place here at Regional 1, and you got to have special people to do what we do here. So I feel like that, and helping everything grow with the top 5 priorities for its growth, with the people, your culture, and everything. It all ties in. So getting the right people is the key.
And that's so important. You mentioned Daniel, and I can't, not say anything about Daniel. He's a Titans fan, so I'll give him that. But I love to give him a hard time. But he and Terrell are providing good leadership for you all, and hiring good people like you to this organization. So I want to thank you again for your time today and joining us in our podcast and being an example of thinking team first. All of us play a role in providing excellent health care. It's not just the nurses and doctors and the respiratory therapists. It's all of us who are part of this team, and it takes all of us to do our job to make that happen.
Yes, sir.
The healthcare community continues to face unprecedented challenges with COVID-19, so we need each other as we move forward. I hope you'll join me in taking Kenneth's example to heart. Let's continue to work together, support each other, and take care of each other, as we can help play an essential role in this community. Thank you, Kenneth, for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Coopwood. It was a pleasure.